Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly mind-blowing. We are taking a look at a groundbreaking piece of technology that's literally built to save lives in places where even getting a basic cell phone signal is, well, it's a total luxury. We're going to explore how bringing AI-driven post-discharge healthcare completely offline isn't just some cool engineering trick. It is a massive, absolute necessity. Let's get right into it. We really got to start with a number to understand why this matters so much. 5.8 million. It's a huge, almost unfathomable statistic, right? That is the number of people who tragically pass away every single year in developing countries purely due to poor quality healthcare. And what's really wild is that this crisis often peaks right after a patient actually leaves the hospital. They get discharged, they're sent home, and suddenly, bam, they are totally cut off from the medical expertise they desperately need to recover safely. It's a grave reality, and it demands a totally radically different approach to digital health. So why do standard cloud-dependent healthcare apps fail these patients? Well, just think about rural India. A staggering 68% of the population lacks reliable internet access. 68%! And in remote areas like the Spiti Valley in Ladakh, you might be looking at just one doctor for every 25,000 people. Think about that ratio for a second. Throw in that dangerous post-discharge isolation, severe language barriers where English apps are completely useless, and the terrifying reality that those critical golden hour emergencies go totally unaddressed just because there's no way to call for help. A typical app that needs a 4G connection and a server sitting in California? Yeah, that's completely useless here. Clearly, the solution has to live entirely in the patient's pocket. Enter Sewa. And fun fact, Sewa translates to service. It is a fully offline, AI-powered post-discharge care companion, and it's designed to give personalized, intelligent healthcare guidance straight from the device. I'm going to repeat its absolute superpower, because it's that important. It is 100% offline, no Wi-Fi required, no cellular data needed. It basically puts the expertise of a medical professional right into the palm of a patient's hand, operating completely off the grid. Now, you might be wondering how this stacks up against standard health apps. The contrast is honestly night and day. Normal apps, they demand an internet connection. They rely on cloud APIs. They maybe support 1 or 2 languages if you're lucky. They want you to pay a subscription. And let's be honest, they harvest your health data straight to external servers. Sewa flips the entire script. It runs a large language model right there on the device. It speaks 12 Indian languages natively. It's totally free, open source, and transmits absolutely zero data. So privacy and accessibility aren't just premium add-ons. They are literally the foundation of the whole platform. Let's talk about how this actually feels to use. Setting up a personalized care plan is incredibly clean and intuitive. A patient or a caregiver just punches in their discharge date, their expected recovery timeline, and all those complex medication schedules. Instantly, an active care plan is generated to manage crucial discharge summaries and act as a smart medication tracker. And here's the best part. Because it's completely local to the phone, there are no loading screens. None. It's instant, frictionless, and just so highly responsive. Which brings us to a real game changer, Sewa Chat. This is a highly advanced conversational AI assistant, and again, it is running entirely on the mobile phone. We aren't talking about a basic, clunky chatbot here. It's powered by a local large language model hooked up to a custom RAG pipeline. That's retrieval augmented generation for the tech folks out there. Basically, the AI can instantly read through a massive medical knowledge base of over 500,000 entries. So a patient can ask in their native language, hey, are these post-surgery symptoms normal? Or what can I eat today? And they get an immediate medically validated answer without ever pinging a cell tower. No way, right? But it works. But recovery is about a lot more than just remembering to take your pills. It's about holistic health. The app actually includes lifestyle features like the 4-7-8 breathing technique module. This is specifically in there to help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is absolutely crucial for managing post-surgery anxiety and pain. Add to that a comprehensive wellness dashboard that tracks a user's daily health score, blood pressure, blood sugar, and hydration. It proves that Sewa really cares about the entire recovery journey, not just the clinical data points. Now, remember we talked earlier about the golden hour, that critical window where getting immediate medical attention is literally the difference between life and death? If a patient logs a red flag symptom, the AI doesn't just passively give advice. It jumps into action through an emergency SOS feature. With just a single tap, Sewa uses offline GPS and SMS alerts to blast out the patient's location and critical medical info to emergency contacts and local responders. It completely bypasses the need for mobile data to make sure help is immediately on the way. And let's not forget the language barrier. Because that's a massive hurdle that Seha just shatters natively. The interface seamlessly shifts between 12 different Indian languages, from Hindi and Tamil to Kannada, Odia, and Assamese. But it doesn't stop there. For folks who might struggle with reading, it includes text-to-speech features. It has large text modes for elderly users, and even a pictorial mode. It's designed so that the technology completely adapts to the patient, rather than forcing the patient to figure out the technology. Okay, for my tech enthusiasts, let's peek under the hood. How in the world do you run all this on a low-end smartphone? It's all about a highly optimized modular architecture. They built it on React Native and Expo to keep the mobile experience super smooth. But the heavy lifter? That's the AI runtime, using llama.cpp to run the large language model directly on the device's own hardware. Plus, they use local SQLite for the database. This setup is so aggressively optimized that it runs blazingly fast, even on budget smartphones with just 2 to 4 gigabytes of RAM. Seriously impressive. But hold on, running heavy AI on a phone, that's going to kill the battery, right? Well, the engineers actually came up with this brilliant AI fallback strategy. When a user asks a question, the system first checks if the heavy LLM is loaded up in RAM. If it is, awesome, you get a complex, nuanced AI response. But if the model is inactive to save battery life, the app instantly falls back to rule-based template responses or even direct lightning-fast database lookups for simple facts like medication timings. This guarantees the patient gets an instant, intelligent response every single time, while preserving precious battery life in areas where you can't just plug into a wall anytime you want. Now, I need you to really let this next point sink in, because in today's digital landscape, this is practically unheard of. Zero data leaves the device. Zero. None of it. It doesn't get shipped off to an advertiser. It doesn't go to some tech giant server to train their next model. It goes nowhere. Sewa has an unwavering, uncompromising commitment to user privacy, and they mean it. And they back up that massive claim with true bank-grade security protocols. I mean, because there's no network transmission in the first place, the biggest attack vectors hackers use are just entirely eliminated. On top of that, critical data like health IDs are locked down tight with AES 256 encryption. The local medical records are secured using SQL cipher. The app itself can be locked behind a biometric fingerprint or face scan. Oh, and there is absolutely zero analytics or telemetry tracking you in the background. The patient's health data is perfectly, unequivocally safe in their own hands. So where does a project like this go from here? The roadmap for Sewa's scalability is honestly huge. Because the whole app is offline and modular, scaling it up doesn't mean building out massive, expensive server farms. They're targeting a leap from 100,000 users in year 1 all the way to 5 million users by year 3, expanding from 50 districts to over 500. They're also aiming to drop emergency response times down to an average of just 1.5 minutes. It's an incredibly scalable open-source platform that is totally primed for adoption by NGOs and governments alike. Which brings us to the final thought I want to leave you with today. What happens when world-class healthcare is no longer a luxury dictated by where you happen to live or whether you have a strong Wi-Fi connection? Sewa proves that by smartly applying offline AI, we can completely democratize post-discharge care. We can take the smartest medical knowledge humanity has, shrink it down into an app that fits in a pocket, and deploy it to the most remote corners of the globe. That isn't just a tech upgrade, that is a literal revolution in healthcare. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.